Hello students, today we are going to learn human capital formation in India, part 2. The topics which are going to be covered in today's session are human capital and economic growth, human capital and human development, state of human capital and economic growth in India, education sector in India, and the future prospects. First, let's understand what is economic growth. Economic growth means increase in real national income of the country. In short, whenever there is an increase in the GDP or the productivity or aggregate production, we can say that there is economic growth, because ultimately that would give a rise to national income. So economic growth means increase in real national income of the country. Now, this enhanced productivity of human capital contributes not only towards increasing labor productivity, but it also stimulates innovation and ability to absorb new technology. So it's very important that when we contribute or invest into human capital, it's not just that we want to increase the labor productivity, but it will also help to have new innovative ideas and ability to absorb new technology. So the human capital growth in developing countries has been very much faster as compared to our country. So, but we can say that the growth of per capita real income has not been fast in our country. Now, higher income causes building of high level of human capital and vice versa. That is, high level of human capital causes growth of income, which means that if I invest more in human capital formation, the output or the productivity is going to increase. Now, when productivity increases, obviously there is rise in income. So, human capital or high level of human capital leads to growth of income. Now, let's understand human capital and economic growth. India has recognized the importance of human capital and economic growth. Even in the 7th five-year planning, human resource development, that is human capital, was considered to be very important, and it has necessary to be assigned a key role in any development strategy. We very well know that trained and educated human capital can have or give more input to the production as compared to untrained or uneducated or unskilled labor. Now, if you observe this table, we can very well compare as to how our real per capita income has increased over the period of time, be it death ratio, be it infant mortality ratio, be it life expectancy ratio. Earlier, the life expectancy ratio was very less, but now if you see, it has improved. The reason is advancement in technology or advancement in medicine. Now let's study human capital and economic growth in India. Two independent reports on Indian economy in the recent times have identified that India would grow faster due to its strength in human capital formation. Very well known German bank has stated it in its report that human capital is the most important factor in today's economy, and it increases. If there is an increase in human capital, it helps you to achieve your higher GDP. So if you observe this statement, they had also published wherein it was mentioned that by 2020, India would be one of the 4 major growth centers in the world. And there is also a report with reference to India which states that between 2005 or by 2020, that is between 2005 to 2020, we expect a 40% rise in the average years of education in India. Now, World Bank in its recent report also stated that with transition to knowledge economy, India can improve its per capita income. If you know, Ireland uses its knowledge economy very effectively. In fact, Ireland is the country which uses its knowledge economy very effectively. And in India, of course, we do have knowledge economy, or we have the intellectual people rather. Now, if there is a transition of these people into knowledge economy, then, and if we use or we utilize this knowledge economy, then we can increase our per capita income from $1,000, which was in 2002, to $3,000 by 2020. Now, human capital and human development. See, human capital is considers education and health as a mean, which means that it's very important that if you want human capital formation, you have to invest into education and health. So human capital is considering education and health as a means to increase the productivity. Whereas human development is based on the idea that education and health are integral to human well-being. Because only when people have the ability to read and write and lead a healthy life, they will be able to make a choice which they value. So human capital is treating human being as a means to end, the end being, of course, increase in productivity, because ultimate aim of human capital formation is to have increase in productivity. Whereas investment in education and health is unproductive if it does not give any output, according to human capital. Now, in human development perspective, human beings are end in themselves. See, in human capital, it was considering as humans as a means to end. Whereas according to human development perspective, human beings are end in themselves, which means that human welfare should be increased through investment in education, even if it's not increasing the productivity, which means you have to invest into education and health, even if it does not yield you productivity. So every individual has right to get basic education and basic health care according to human development. And every individual has right to be literate and lead a healthy life. Now let's see what is the state of human capital formation in India. Education and health are the most important source of human capital formation. So it becomes very important that expenditure on education and health gives you a sustainable long-term impact, and they cannot be reversed. So it is very important that government has to intervene. They have to interfere, especially in the areas of education and health. Because when we talk about the private sectors or private institutes, their main aim is to earn profit. So over here, it becomes very important that government has to intervene to improve education and health sector. Now, consumers do not have complete information about the quality of the services or the products and their costs. And if the decision is to take the shift services to another institution, obviously substantial damage is done. So again, interference of government is important. Now, the role of government is to ensure that all these private providers, they adhere to the standard and there is no exploitation and they charge the correct price. Now, let me ask you a question. Who takes care of education and health in India? Let me give you 5 seconds to think about it. Well, the answer is education is being taken care by Ministry of Human Resource Development, that is MHRD, and healthcare is being taken care by Ministry of Health, Family and Welfare. Let me ask you another question. Who are the office holders or union ministers of these ministries? Any guesses? I'm sure if you are reading newspapers, updating yourself, then you would be able to answer. Well, the answer is Mr. Ramesh Pokhriyal for MHRD and Dr. Harshvardhan for Health, Family and Welfare. Now let's see what is the state of human capital formation in India. We have various organizations which facilitate the other institutions under the education and health sector and along with the ministries at the union and state level. Now these institutions or organizations are NCERT, that is National Council of Educational Research and Training. We have UGC, All India Council of Training Education, and Indian Council for Medical Research. The first three comes or falls under the category of education, and the last one, that is Indian Council for Medical Research, is especially for the health sector. Now, the state of, again, human capital formation in India, we know that basic necessities or basic amenities has to be provided so that there is substantial growth in the economy in terms of standard of living. Now, when basic education and healthcare is considered as a right of the citizen, then it is essential that government should provide this education and health services at minimum cost. And that is why we have a program, that is Education for All, wherein the children, at least up to the age of 14, they are given free education. And government has also provided various programs wherein health services are also provided to the poor people for the welfare at the minimum cost. So both union and state government have been stepping up expenditure in education sector, which means they are spending and they are incurring expenses in case of education and health sector. Now, the main objective is to attain 100% or 10% literacy, which is of course far to achieve. We are yet to achieve that. But various 5-year planning have been, imposing various plans every year to improve education and health sector. Now let's see how is the education sector in India. As I said, that government does or government incurs expenditure, especially in both the sectors. Now the expenditure by the government on these sectors can be expressed in two ways, especially in education sector. One, as a percentage of total government expenditure, and second, as a percentage of gross domestic product. Now, during 1952 to 2014, education expenditure, that is all the expenses which government had incurred on education as a percentage of total government expenditure, that is the first one, it had increased from 7.92 to 15.7% as a percentage. And if you observe about the GDP, it has increased from 0.64 to 4.13, which means that when we talk about as a percentage of GDP, it has increased in good ratio. Actually, the government is expecting that there has to be at least 6% of GDP. That is, the priority is that whatever is our GDP, 6% of our GDP should be spent on education. But we could not achieve much. It was 3.8 in 2014, and it has increased to 4.6 or 4.3 now. So there has been an increase, but the priority, as I said, it is 6% of GDP, which means that we should be able to spend 6% of GDP on this sector. Now, elementary education takes a major share of total education expenditure, which means whatever government is incurring or whatever government is spending, mostly it is on elementary sector, elementary education. Now, however, expenditure per student in college education is higher than the elementary. In 2014 and 15, the per capita public expenditure on elementary education has, considerably different in the different states, and this has led to difference in educational opportunities. And we can also observe that many states in India, we don't have a balanced regional growth in terms of education, in terms of health, in terms of growth and development. So it is very much important that there has to be balanced growth in all the regions. The Tapas Majumdar Committee appointed by the government in India, they had estimated an expenditure of around 1.37 lakh crore over 10 years to bring children to the schools education. Now, the current level of GDP expenditure, as I said, it is over 4% than the goal of 6%. I already told you that the priority or the goal is to have at least 6%, as it is mentioned by Education Commission. Now, in 2009, the Government of India enacted the Right of Education Act to make free education and give as a fundamental right of all the children between the age group of 6 to 14 years. Government of India has also started levying 2% education cess on all union taxes. Education says is a tax on tax which has to be levied so that government can collect the revenues, and the revenues, and they can spend on the various education activities. The revenues from education cell has been earmarked for spending on elementary education. The government sanctions a large outlay for the promotion of higher education, which means majority of the earnings from this education cell is being spent for higher education. Now, if you observe this table, we can see that from 1990 to 2000, there has been increase in the literacy ratio. And especially when you compare male and female, we can see that the ratio has narrowed down over the years, which means that due to the spreading of awareness, people have started realizing about the importance of education. Now, what are the future prospects? First, as I said, education for all is still a distant dream because we are yet to achieve the 10%. So though literacy rates have increased, still absolute number of illiterates in India is as much as India's population at the time of independence. It was noted in Directive Principles, that is in 1950, that the government should provide free and compulsory education, which we have already implemented. If we achieve this 100% literacy ratio, then our economy can grow to the next level. Of course, gender equity has improved in the past years. So the difference between literacy rate between males and females are narrowing. But still, the need to promote education for women in India is yet to improve, especially in the rural areas where still the social status of women is not equal to men. So women education makes a favorable impact on the fertility rate and healthcare of women and children. We generally say that when you educate a man, you're just educating an individual. But when you educate a girl child or a woman, you are educating the whole family, because ultimately she is the one who's going to take care of the family. So it is very important that there is a woman education. Let's talk about the higher education, a few takers. The Indian education pyramid is steep. Now, when I say steep, which means still there are people who do not pursue higher studies. So there is a need that people should pursue for higher education level. As per NSSO data, in the year 2011-12, the rate of unemployment among the youth male was 19% in rural and 16% in urban. And if you compare this ratio with females, we can see that in rural area, the ratio is very high as compared to urban. Now, therefore, the government should increase the allocation of higher education and improve the standard of institution. So to conclude, we can say that the spread of education and health services across different sectors of society should be ensured so that we can have economic growth and equity. We very well know that India has a rich stock of scientific and technical manpower in the whole, as compared to the whole world. And if we utilize this manpower efficiently and effectively, then India, the days are not far where India would be one among those developed countries. So the need of an hour is to better it qualitatively and provide such conditions within the country. Thank you very much.